A black woman was ridiculed at Jiu-Jitsu class, then submitted a black belt in 14 seconds. They thought she would disappear after that night. Some believed the match was a lucky moment, a fluke, but that wasn't the end. That was the start of something new. Weeks passed. The gym that once mocked her now looked different. Half the students were gone. Posters were taken down. The place was quieter. But something better was growing in that silence. Rachel stepped up. She wasn't the same timid niece anymore. With the help of a few good students, she reopened the gym under a new name, Mat 14. A small tribute to the 14 seconds that changed everything. The walls were cleaned. The mocking signs were gone. The energy was better. It felt safer, like it could actually be a place to grow. Rachel ran it with respect, fairness, and a lot of heart. She knew what had been wrong before, and she made sure it would never happen. Again, Cody, the shy white belt? He wasn't so shy anymore. With Kiana's guidance, he grew into a leader. He started teaching kids classes, especially focusing on helping those who felt too small, too overlooked. He knew what that felt like. And now he made sure others didn't have to feel it alone. Kiana didn't say much. She never needed to. She kept training quietly in the mornings or late at night, always focused, always sharp. But she was watching. And when someone needed help with a technique, she was there. Not to show off, just to help. Then came something unexpected. A letter, hand-delivered, no return name. Inside was a photo. Her brother, alive, holding a newspaper with that morning's date. With it, a single line. Now the real game begins. Stared at that photo for a long time. It was him. Same eyes, same quiet strength in his face. And there, hidden in the way he held the paper, was a code. A signal. A message only someone trained like her could notice. He wasn't just alive. He was trying to reach her. The past wasn't finished. Whatever program had taken him, whatever lies they'd told, it wasn't over. She slipped the photo into her pocket. That day at the gym, things felt different again. She stood in the middle of the mat. Students lined up at the edge, waiting, watching. She wore her gi, but no belt, just white. The beginning, not for attention, not for status, just as a reminder. "I'm not a belt," she said softly, but clear enough for them all to hear. "I'm not a rank. I'm what they tried to bury, but I'm still here." They watched her, not as a viral video or some rumor from the internet, but as someone real, someone who fought with more than skill, someone who fought with purpose. And she wasn't done, because she knew this story, her story, wasn't about a match or 14 seconds or even a gym. It was about all the people who get pushed out, talked down to, looked over. People who are told they don't belong until they prove it. And sometimes, even when they do, it's still not enough. But she was going to make sure the next person like her didn't have to fight just to be seen, not alone. So she stood, not as Spectre, not as a soldier, just as Kiana and the mat, the one where they laughed at her, the one where she earned her space. That mat became her message. It's not about beating someone. It's about standing your ground with quiet strength until the world catches up. And as long as she stood, others, would know they could too, because sometimes 14 seconds is all it takes to change everything. But the real power? It's in what you do after. Kiana kept showing up, day after day, early mornings, late nights. No one welcomed her. No one asked her name. But she came anyway. She moved like someone who'd done this before. Quiet, sharp, focused. But she never said much. She didn't try to impress anyone. She just worked, repeating drills while others whispered and laughed from the corners of the mat. No one wanted to partner with her. Not really. She was always the last one standing when the coach, shouted, "Pair up," until one day a skinny white belt hesitated, then walked over. His name was Cody. Nervous, kind eyes, the kind of guy who stayed out of the way. He mumbled, "Want to drill together?" She nodded once. That was it. From that day on, Cody stuck close to her, not in a loud way, more like someone who finally saw something the others couldn't. He noticed how Kiana's movements were exact. Not flashy, but sharp. The way her foot landed at just the right angle during a guard pass. How her escapes didn't rely on strength, but timing. And one night, after class, when most people had already left, he said it out loud. "You've trained before, haven't you?" Kiana didn't answer. She just looked at him. Long enough for him to know the truth, but not long enough for him to ask more. They started meeting early, before the gym opened, just to drill. Sometimes Cody asked questions. Sometimes they trained in silence. Either way, he got better. Fast. He started telling her about the others, how the gym really worked, who talked behind her back, how Coach Whitmore didn't like outsiders, especially women who didn't kiss the ring, and Logan, the black belt who everyone worshipped. Cody said he'd hurt people in roles just to prove a point, that he liked making new students quit. Especially the ones who didn't look like him. Kiana listened, but she never said anything bad in return. She just trained harder. One morning, as they practiced sweeps, Cody said something that stuck. "I think they're scared of you, not because of what they know, but because of what they don't." Kiana paused, then went right back to drilling. That same week, she got paired with Rocco, one of the gym's toughest brown belts. Big guy, loud, thought it was funny to go too hard during live rolls. First round, he slammed her. No setup, no technique, just brute force. The room laughed. Second round, she sprawled perfectly. Clean, quiet, efficient. Stopped him dead. Then came her turn. Single leg takedown. Textbook. He got mad. Threw her harder next round. She said nothing. Just kept standing back up. Again and again. Her body ached, but her eyes never flinched. By now, Cody had started noticing more than just the technique. He noticed how she watched everything, every detail. Every person in the room, like she was planning something. Or like she had already seen it all before. And still, no one knew who she really was. She was just the new girl to them. But not to Cody. To him, she was something else. And while the others laughed and posted memes behind her back, Kiana trained like someone who knew the storm was coming, and when it did, she'd be ready. Because deep down, under all that silence, she was holding something. Not just skill, not just secrets, but purpose. And it was only a matter of time before the rest of them saw it. Every jab, every snicker, every careless armbar someone tried to teach her like she didn't already know, it was fuel. And when they finally put her in the spotlight, they'd realize they'd been training right beside a ghost. And that ghost was wide awake. It started like any other evening, but the air felt heavier when Kiana walked into the gym. Guys stood around in loose circles, whispering, glancing her way more than usual. Someone chuckled. Someone else high-fived. Then she saw why. Logan had arrived. She'd seen his face before, plastered across the gym's Instagram, standing on podiums, flexing in victory photos. A black belt, local champion, the pride of Whitmore Jiu-Jitsu. And in this gym, Logan was king. Everything shifted when he walked in. Posture changed, voices dropped. Students lined up to shake his hand like he was some kind of legend. Kiana had barely stepped onto the mat when Logan spotted her. He paused mid-laugh, looked her up and down, then made a show of squinting behind her, like he was looking for someone else. "Yo, coach," he called out loud enough for the whole gym to hear. "You let her join, or is this take your daughter to work day?" Laughter broke out like someone flipped a switch. Coach Whitmore smirked from across the room. "New blood," he said, not even trying to hide the sarcasm. "Says she's trained some." Logan's eyes narrowed. His grin widened. "Well, don't go easy on her then. We wouldn't want her to get the wrong idea about what real jiu-jitsu feels like." The tone was clear. This wasn't welcome. It was a warning. The rest of the class was brutal. Suddenly, every drill seemed harder, rougher. Partners who were once just indifferent now rolled with an edge. Extra pressure here, a crank there. Kiana noticed it all, but she never complained. She moved with the same quiet control she always had. No ego, no outbursts, just presence. And that started to get under their skin. Later, while everyone was catching their breath, Coach leaned in toward Logan and whispered something. Kiana caught just one phrase. "Let's see if she breaks." That night, as students were packing up, Cody handed her a small ice pack. He didn't say much, just muttered, "You did good today," and slipped away before anyone could see them talking. Kiana stayed behind a little longer, tied her belt slowly, watched Coach and Logan disappear into the office, their laughter fading into the hallway. She wasn't the only one listening. The locker room door had been left open just a crack, and what she heard made her stomach twist, not from fear, but recognition. "She's not the right fit here," Coach was saying. "This gym has a certain culture, a reputation." Logan laughed. "Don't worry. By next Friday, she'll be gone." Friday. Kiana filed it away. They were planning something. That night, back in her apartment, she sat in silence for a long time. On the floor beside her was a small wooden box. Inside it, a belt. Not the jiu-jitsu kind, but a military one. Faded patches, scars along the fabric. Next to it, a photo. Her and her brother, arms around each other, both in fatigues, both smiling in a way that no longer felt possible. She ran her fingers along the edge of the frame and whispered the same thing she always did when the weight got heavy. "I'm not here to play." 3 days later, she returned to the gym early, paid her membership up front. No hesitation. Coach looked surprised when she handed him the card. "You're still here," he muttered. "I said I would be," she replied. The class was takedowns that day. Slams, power moves. Coach called it grit training. She got paired with Rocco again. He was worse this time. Loud, aggressive. Slammed her to the mat without warning. People laughed like it was funny. But Kiana didn't laugh. She stood up, again and again. She sprawled better, moved quicker, timed her footwork with more care. She didn't fight back with brute strength. She just made him work for every inch. Later, during live rolling, Logan stepped forward. Coach's voice rang out. "Let's mix it up. Logan, show our newcomer what a real round feels like." The message was clear. This wasn't a roll. This was a setup. As Kiana walked to the center of the mat, the room fell quiet. She slapped hands with Logan, eyes locked, calm, focused. He charged fast, bullying forward, crashing into her with weight and arrogance, tried to flatten her with pressure, slammed his shoulder into her collarbone hard enough to make someone gasp. But Kiana didn't panic. She adjusted, shifted, created just enough space to breathe. She didn't go for the kill. Not yet. Let him think she was overwhelmed. Let him believe the whispers in the locker room, that she didn't belong, that she'd quit, that she'd break. What they didn't know was Kiana had already lived through worse, and every time someone tried to crush her, she just got sharper, smarter, stronger. Friday was coming, and she was ready. Challenge night. By the time Friday rolled around, it felt like the entire gym had been holding its breath. Flyers were taped up near the front desk with Logan's face on them, smiling like he'd already won. Underneath it, Challenge Night. Watch Logan Bradley defend Whitmore honor. Someone had crossed out the words "against all comers" and scribbled in "against women." The joke wasn't subtle, neither was the mood. By 7:30, the gym was packed. Students, friends, even people who didn't train but had heard the whispers. Phones were out, tripods set up, stories already being posted. Logan stood at the center of the mat in his custom rash guard, one that read Queen Slayer. Across the back, he grinned like a man who had already planned his victory speech. Coach stood beside him like a proud parent, clapping backs, shaking hands. They didn't see it as a match. They saw it as entertainment. "Where is she?" someone yelled from the crowd. "Too scared to show?" A guy near the lockers laughed. "Told you, Instagram fighter. Can't handle real pressure." Then the front door opened. Kiana walked in. No music, no entrance, just steady footsteps. Her expression was calm. Not angry, just clear. Focused. Like she was walking into something she already knew how to handle. She wore a plain black rash guard and gray shorts. No logos, no fancy belt. Nothing to prove, just readiness. People moved out of her way without thinking. Some fell quiet. Others stared. A few tilted their heads, like seeing her again under the bright lights made them second-guess what they thought they knew. She stepped onto the mat and stretched silently, warming up in her own rhythm. Coach raised his voice. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Challenge Night," the crowd cheered. "Tonight we witness a test, a tradition here at Whitmore's, where we separate hype from reality." Laughter. Logan bowed dramatically. Coach gestured to Kiana with an exaggerated wave of the hand. "And facing our champ tonight, our newest member. 1 round, no time limit, submission only. Winner stays, loser leaves." Gasps. A few oohs. Coach smiled at the tension in the air. Kiana just nodded once. Coach continued, "This should be quick." Logan stepped forward, bouncing on the balls of his feet. "You sure you're ready for this?" he said under his breath. "No edit button. Out here." Kiana met his eyes. "I've seen worse than you in silence." Coach raised his hand. "Shake hands." They touched fingers briefly. Logan grinned like he was already celebrating. "Begin!" He charged instantly. No hesitation. He was bigger, stronger, used to winning through control and pressure. He drove into her with a shoulder, trying to knock her balance and flatten her. But Kiana didn't resist it. She flowed with it. In one fluid motion, she redirected his momentum, slipped under him, angled her hips, and locked her legs around his, neck and arm. The triangle choke came out of nowhere. To the crowd, it looked like magic. Logan's hands went from confident to frantic in seconds. His face reddened. His grip broke. And then, tap, tap, tap. 3 slaps against her thigh. Kiana released the choke instantly. Silence. Phone still recording. Logan sat up, gasping, eyes wide in disbelief. Coach looked frozen. Kiana stood calmly and walked back to her corner. Someone finally whispered, "What just happened?" A voice from the crowd answered, 14 seconds. That was all it took. Coach rushed forward. Wait, reset. She caught you off guard, that's all. Run it back." Logan stood shakily, his face no longer smug. He didn't argue. He just wanted redemption. Kiana shrugged. "Fine, 2nd round." This time, Logan moved slower, more careful. No more jokes. He tried a single-leg takedown, basic, strong. Kiana sprawled, perfectly. As he adjusted to counter, she shifted, hooked his leg, rolled into guard, and swept him. Now she was on top. The room leaned in. Logan bridged, tried to escape. But Kiana was already a move ahead. She moved from mount to S-mount. Logan's trapped arms stretched between them. His breathing got loud. Then came the arm bar. Quick, clinical, and again, tap, tap, tap. This time? 11 seconds. Gasps. Shouts. A few people clapped. Coach's face was red now, trying to hold on to his authority. Logan rolled away, face down, refusing to speak. Kiana stood again, still breathing steady, still not smiling. Coach stammered something, but no one was listening. All eyes were on her now. Cody was near the back, filming everything. His hands shaking as he hit upload, the crowd murmured. Some walked out, embarrassed to have cheered so hard for Logan. Others stayed still, watching something they'd never seen before. Respect was shifting in real time, not just for Kiana, but for everything they'd assumed about strength, rank, and belonging. She didn't need to scream to make her presence known. She just needed 14 seconds. And the truth? They gave her the platform. She gave them a lesson. The gym would never be the same. The video went everywhere. It started small, just a few hundred views in the first hour. People shared it in group chats, laughed about it, argued over whether it was real. But by morning, it was different. Thousands of shares, tens of thousands of views, comment sections full of people trying to figure out who she was. That triangle was too clean to be beginner's luck. That's not white belt movement. She moved like she knew what Logan was going to do before he even did it. Cody texted her screenshots of Jiu-Jitsu forums. People were breaking down the footage frame by frame. Some said she was just a natural. Others were convinced she had to be ex-military. A few claimed she might have come from a secret law enforcement background. One comment stood out. It came from a retired Marine. "She's Spectre. I rolled with her once. Felt like fighting a shadow. Quiet, precise, and always 3 steps ahead." Kiana froze when she read it. She hadn't heard that name, Spectre, in years, not since the desert, not since her brother vanished and they told her he died. She had buried that part of her life, and now the internet was digging it back up. Later that night, alone in her apartment, she sat on the floor beside her old military belt, the one with a patch from a unit that officially didn't exist. She hadn't touched it in months, maybe longer. Her fingers traced over the stitching slowly. She stared at the photo beside it. Her and her brother, arms slung around each other, both in dusty uniforms, both smiling like they were still whole. She whispered like she had before, "Wherever you are, I hope you made it." Then her phone buzzed, an email. No sender, no subject, just an attachment. She hesitated, then opened it. It was a surveillance photo. Her heart stopped. Her brother, walking through what looked like a market, somewhere overseas. Older, leaner, harder, but alive. The timestamp in the corner read, July 19th, 2018, months after his reported death. She stared at it so long her eyes burned. It wasn't a fake. She knew that face too well, knew that posture. Even the slight limp from an old mission gone sideways. Someone had kept him alive and lied to her. Her stomach twisted. Not with fear, but purpose. Because now she had proof. Whoever sent that photo wanted her to know the truth, and they sent it right after her video went viral. That wasn't coincidence. That was a message. The next day, she drove out of the city. 40 miles, no GPS, just memory. A back road that led to an old contact, a man who used to be part of the program that trained her and her brother. He opened the door with tired eyes and a small frown. "Took you long enough," he said. Inside, the place was quiet, sparse. Walls covered in maps and old mission patches. Coffee mug, stack of folders, no photos. He didn't ask why she came. He already knew. She handed him her phone. Let him study the image. After a long silence, he said, "It's real." "You're sure?" "I knew the moment they told me he died. No body, no wreckage, just a file and an order to shut up." Classic quiet op. "But you? You weren't supposed to come back either." "Not really. You were too skilled. Too unpredictable. Kiana swallowed the ache rising in her throat. Why fake it? Control, he said. They separated you, used him to keep you compliant. And when you started asking too many questions, they let you go. But they always kept an eye on you. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. That video you posted? It lit a flare. Someone saw you again. And now they're circling back. Kiana felt it then. Not fear, but clarity. She hadn't gone viral. She'd been exposed. Everything about her. Her silence. Her low profile. The life she built far away from the past was now out in the open. The triangle choke wasn't what started this. It was just the trigger. She wasn't fighting gym culture anymore. She was stepping back into something deeper, older, sharper, and somewhere out there, her brother was still alive, held by the same people who once trained them to be ghosts. But this time, she wasn't coming back to hide. She was coming back to finish it, and maybe, just maybe, bring him home. The drive was silent, not because no one had anything to say, but because everything that needed to be said was already sitting in the space between them. Rachel was at the wheel, focused, jaw tight. Cody sat in the back, headphones in, pretending to scroll, but watching the road with one eye. Kiana sat in the passenger seat, arms crossed, gaze fixed outside the window. Desert roads blurred past. She hadn't told them everything, but they knew enough. She had shown them the surveillance photo, had told them her brother was alive. That he wasn't just missing, he'd been taken, hidden by the same program that had once trained her, then discarded her when she got too hard to control. Now, someone had sent a location. No explanation, no words, just GPS coordinates in the middle of nowhere. A decommissioned military site, buried in the dust 3 states away. They were walking straight into something dangerous, and they all knew it. When they got there, it was exactly as the satellite image had shown. Chain link fencing wrapped around a long, low compound. From a distance, it looked abandoned, like the desert had started reclaiming it. Rusted vents, broken signs, faded warning labels. But Kiana saw more. Motion sensors in the gravel. Newer wiring buried along the fence line, and one camera, painted over to look broken, but following their approach just slightly too slow. Not abandoned, she said. They parked behind a rock formation, far enough to stay hidden. Now what? Rachel whispered. Kiana didn't answer. She was already out of the car, hands wrapped in the same black tape she always used to train. She moved like she wasn't walking into a trap, but into a place she already knew. And maybe she did. They reached the gate, and before they could touch it, it opened. No sound, just a soft mechanical click, and then the rusted metal slid. Aside, Cody whispered, "That's not creepy at all." They stepped through. The gate closed behind them. The air was dry, still, heavy. Inside the main building, it was quiet, too quiet. Lights flickered. Hallways stretched in all directions. Concrete walls, steel doors, no signs, no markings. Kiana led without speaking, taking turns like she'd already memorized the layout. Her eyes tracked shadows, vents, blind spots. Finally, a man appeared, built like stone, tactical gear, sunglasses even indoors, arms covered in faded ink. He didn't raise a weapon. He just looked at her and said, "Spectre." Rachel flinched at the word. Cody leaned forward, tense. "You were expected," the man said. "By who?" Kiana asked. He turned and started walking. "You'll see." They followed in silence, the halls growing colder the deeper they went. The paint was newer here. The air smelled filtered. The walls buzzed softly with unseen power. They entered a large room. Command center. Monitors lined the walls. Feeds from drones, satellites, street cams. A long metal table sat at the center, like something out of a war movie. And at the head of it, a man, suit, silver hair, posture like he never unlearned command. He didn't get up, just smiled. "Kiana Moore," he said. "Or should I say, Spectre." She didn't blink. "Where's my brother?" "Alive," he said calmly, gesturing to one of the screens. A grainy image popped up. Her brother, older, tired, walking a narrow hallway in what looked like a foreign compound. "Where is that?" she demanded. He stood slowly, folding his hands. "I'll tell you, after we talk." He offered her a seat. She didn't take it, so he spoke anyway. "The truth is simple," he said. "Your brother didn't die. He was recruited, off books, into something bigger than Project Emberlight. He's been useful." Kiana's fists clenched. "He's not property." The man raised an eyebrow. "Neither are you. But the world we live in, it isn't built for ghosts like you. We can offer you clarity, purpose." "I have a purpose," she said. "Oh?" he asked, amused. "Yes," she said. "It's tearing this place down." He laughed. "You think one viral video makes you untouchable?" "No," she said. "But it reminded the world that I exist." He stepped closer. "You want him back? 1 year, one mission at a time. You come back to us, and he walks free." Kiana didn't respond. Behind her, Cody's breath caught. Rachel's hand moved to her jacket pocket, closer to something sharp. Kiana stared at the man, then took a slow step forward. "No." His smile vanished. "That's a mistake." "No," she said. "The mistake was thinking I came here, alone." With one smooth movement, she grabbed the keycard clipped to his jacket and spun him into the table. Hard. Chairs scattered. Cody yelped and ducked. Rachel stepped back, pulling her phone and tapping into the gym's live feed. Sirens erupted. Doors opened. Footsteps echoed. Kiana didn't hesitate. 2 guards burst in. She took the first one down with a knee to the gut and swept the second with a sharp hook to the ankle. The man on the ground, the one in the suit, shouted something, but she was already gone, yanking Rachel and Cody toward the exit. Down the corridor, through a service door, back into the desert. Behind them, alarms screamed. Flames burst from the side of the building as Kiana tossed a small black device into the compound's vent system. "What did you just do?" Cody shouted. "I erased it," she said, still running. They reached the SUV, drove, far from the fire, far from the lies. That night, as they crossed the state line, the sun setting behind them, Kiana stared at the road, not speaking, not smiling. She knew this wasn't over, not even close, but it was a start. And now, whoever had taken her brother, whoever thought she'd trade loyalty for family, they knew the truth. She wasn't coming back to serve. She was coming back to end it. It had been 3 weeks since the fire in the desert. 3 weeks since Kiana walked into that facility and burned down the last physical piece of the program that tried to erase her. Back home, things had changed. Some loud, some silent. The gym was no longer called Whitmore Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The new sign out front read, Mat 14, simple, honest. A quiet nod to the night the world changed. Rachel had taken over the lease. Coach Whitmore was gone. Last anyone heard, he was under investigation for fraud. A few of his former students had come forward with stories of abuse, of intimidation, of the culture he'd built. Now, Rachel ran things differently. No belts on pedestals, no king of the mat drills, no loud speeches about toughness, just jiu-jitsu, just respect. Cody taught the kids classes. He had grown into something nobody expected. Confident, kind, patient. His own scars had become tools for helping others. When nervous students hesitated at the door, Cody was the first to say, "It's okay. I used to feel that too." As for Kiana, she trained quietly, always early, always focused. But something about her had shifted. She wasn't just fighting ghosts anymore. She was building something. The internet still buzzed with her story. The 14-second submission video had hit over 1 million views. Then someone uploaded the second match, 11 seconds, and after that, the truth spilled out. The audio, the threats, the locker room talk, the way Logan and Coach tried to set her up. Cody had saved everything. And when he shared it, the internet did what the internet does. The gym's reputation crumbled overnight. But out of that collapse, something better was born. People traveled from other cities just to train at Mat 14. Because it wasn't just a gym anymore. It was a message. A reminder that sometimes the pakja, people who get ignored, are the ones you should have been learning from all along. Kiana didn't want to be a hero or a symbol. But quietly, without trying, she had become both. Still, one part of the story remained unfinished. Her brother. The hard drive she stole from the facility had been encrypted, but with help from Cody and a contact from her past, they got pieces of it open. There were files, names, patterns, and one word that came up over and over again: Kestrel. It was the name of the site where he was being held, not a prison. A repurposed airfield in a region most people couldn't even place on a map. Not impossible to reach, but definitely not legal, not safe. She didn't tell Rachel, didn't even tell Cody the full plan. But the night before she left, she handed Rachel a small envelope and said, "If I don't come back, open this." Rachel looked at her, eyes glassy. "You're going after him, aren't you?" Kiana nodded. "It's time." She left before sunrise. One bag, no insignia, no uniform, just movement, just focus. 3 days later, Mat 14 got a package. No return address, just a photo. Kiana and her brother, standing in front of a plane, wind in their hair, dust on their clothes, bruised, scraped, alive. They were smiling. Not the kind of smile for cameras, the kind of smile you give someone when you finally come back from where you were never supposed to survive. The gym gathered that night. Rachel showed the photo to the class. Cody read the note attached. "We're free. Tell them not to stop. It's not just about us anymore." And so they didn't. Mat 14 became more than a name. It became a movement. Women from other gyms came to train there after being pushed out of places that didn't believe in them. Men came who had never felt safe showing weakness. Teens walked, in scared and quiet, walked out stronger. And somewhere out there, Kiana trained in silence, with her brother, living low, staying off the grid, but always watching. Sometimes Cody would get a message, no name, just a thumbs-up emoji, or a screenshot of Mat 14's class schedule, circled. She was still out there, still protecting the people who didn't have a voice. Because for Kiana, the mat had never just been about jiu-jitsu. It was about control, peace, pain, and healing. And when the world had told her she didn't belong, she didn't ask for permission. She simply walked in, tied her belt, and showed them, in 14 seconds or less. Because real fighters, they don't fight for claps. They fight to be heard. And now, she wasn't fighting alone.